First, I want to thank Configura and the CET experience for having me. My name is Jenny Garda. I'm a senior interior designer and workplace strategist for the RCF Group in Cincinnati, Ohio. I have over 27 years experience in the architecture and design industry. I worked for architecture firms in Chicago from 96 through 2012 when my family moved to Cincinnati. In 2015, I was consulting for a client in Cincinnati and walked into a Steelcase dealership and was offered a design position on the spot, starting my furniture journey. So lots of experience in all markets for both A&D and furniture. What else? I have a Canadian chiropractor husband who says things weird, pronounces things weird, and then says a lot. I have a 15-year-old 6'6" gentle giant who's a gamer, a creative, and a discus thrower. I have a 10-year-old space and geography nerd who is the sweetest boy and still tells me he loves me 20 times a day. And I have 2 dogs that keep us all on our toes. My favorite things, besides embarrassing my children, are movies. I'm a huge movie buff, and adventure hikes with my family. So today, we're going to discuss the shift in the dealer designer role from what I like to call order taker to order maker. We'll start with a mini history lesson and discuss how the tools we use, CET and Spec, have made this transition possible. I really believe that the past informs the present and the future, so understanding where we came from can help highlight where we could be going. Then we'll jump into the process. Using our Configura tools, I'll do some demonstrations. I've simplified the non-linear path of a dealer designer into 4 parts. So we'll do live demonstrations in design, presentation, specification, and installation. And I'll share some tips in each of these areas that allow our process to run smoother and provide positive outcomes we're all looking for our customers. Then we'll wrap up with my thoughts on the future of the dealer designer. Okay, so the old way. Does this image look familiar? A bunch of men in business suits lining a space with freestanding desks and stacks of paper. Do we think these well-dressed gentlemen were accountants or lawyers or architects or salesmen? Business was nondescript at one point in time. We didn't think about work styles or how people moved through space or how an environment impacted productivity. You got a job, you put on your suit, and you went to work to find a desk. Back in the day, or when you're my age, it's just known as the day, the process of ordering commercial furniture was a system of catalogs, handwritten triplicate forms, and fax machines. In the 80s, a few key players were established that allowed data to be collected and produced digitally instead of handwritten or drawn. CAD 1.0 was released in December of 1982, revolutionizing the way buildings and interiors were planned, designed, and built. In 1987, Project Matrix was founded, creating the first digital database of commercial furniture and creating a new way of entering data into a simple interchange format, or SIF. Then, in the 90s, these key players evolved, and new software developers like CAD/CAL, later to be known as Configura, started creating planning tools for component-based products. So think furniture blocks. So now we have digitized blocks of product and simple interchange format files with data. What if those were combined? When different software can speak to each other, the possibilities are unlimited. So while I was in college, people much smarter than me made that happen. And for the purposes of this discussion, Configura and Project Matrix are the software leaders we are thanking for their efforts to make our jobs easier. Also in the late 90s, furniture manufacturers like Hayworth and Steelcase began publishing research around workplace environments, and as a result of that, they began developing products that solved for the issues they found in their research. This is a critical piece of history that leads directly to the change from order taker to order maker. All of a sudden, the dealer designer started having information that could inform design of an interior space that the architects and interior designers didn't have. Dealer designers were given this information, and we drank the Kool-Aid. What started as information designed to help us specify product became tools for creating more functional and productive spaces for our end users. and gave the dealer designer the power of knowledge, making us the expert in interior space planning and design. Fast forward to 2004, CET Designer goes live, and Hayworth becomes the first customer in the contract furniture market. Then we have 20 years of updates and improvements and new commercial furniture customers and extensions within the CET Designer platform. Then in 2021, Configura acquires their long-standing partner, Project Matrix. Now that we understand where we came from, let's dive into how we use these tools from the beginning of a project. So who remembers learning the order of operations in 5th grade math? These are the rules that tell us the sequence in which we should solve an expression with multiple operations, right? So that order is PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, and division from left to right, and then add and subtract. I am not a math teacher. I think if you're anything like me, your experience tells you that most designers are not numbers people, but the idea of the order of operations is similar to designing a project, right? So let's say we have a customer that's asked us for a 4-pack of workstations, conference room, and a private office. I teach my junior designers to always design with the end goal in mind. So what is that end goal? Most people would say the presentation or the quote or order placement, right? You want to win the project. I challenge that and say it's installation. The last thing a designer touches on a project is the install drawing. So we're always thinking of the installation drawing as the end goal. So keeping that in mind, what should our order of operations be? So we'd use panels, components, supports, ancillary, and electrical. So those are kind of the pieces that we go through, almost like a checklist. So we're always going to do our panels with the components inside them and the supports, then the ancillary pieces, and then go back and do electrical. And we go back and do electrical often because there are usually building questions or requirements from the customer that have not been asked or have not been answered. So we always do a final electrical run on everything, of every product within a project at the end of our order of operations, if you will. So keeping that in mind, this is a panel system, right? This is an 8-pack that I kind of pre-built for this demonstration. But here are your panels. We've got the segmentation. I did put the power in them already. We've got any accessories like the slat wall and glass. Then we drop in all of the componentry, right? All the guts, all the stuff inside, the storage. The ancillary pieces in this case would be the task chair. So we've got all of that in there, and then we validate that we've checked and we've done our electrical at the end. There's your order of operations. So the next big tip that I can share with you is organization. Once we have our product design, the requirements met, your project validated, if your major manufacturer has that fun validation tool, we move on to the specification part. And again, keeping installation in mind, because of course we're going to get this project, we're going to get the award. We think about the order organization, and the most effective tool we found for organizing our order is tagging. There are 4 different opportunities for tagging within your CET drawing. 3 of these will transfer to your CIF file. So talking about that, individual part tagging, let's jump into that. Within our block here, let's put it on normal and go back into 2 dimensions and go to view all. All of these tags are crazy long numbers. They're all stacked on top of each other, and from my experience, that's with pretty much every manufacturer. We always like to think of these individual tags as what the installers will see on our install drawings. So in your calculation sheet for these things, again, if you load, the first thing we always do is load a template that we have that has everything in order. So if we load that, these are for this specific 8-pack because I am inside the block, right? All of these individual tags are really long. So if you think of what does an installer really need to see to install this chair? Well, they need to know none of that it is Azodi. So we'll keep the rest of it so they can reference something in the model number. This is a height adjustable table. They don't know what TJRA is, and none of this gobbledygook makes any sense to them. So they just need to know that this is a height adjustable table that is 24 by 46 or 29 by 46, right? Same for these units up here. This is a box file. None of that means anything. The 24 by 15 means something, but the rest of this is BBF, box file. Again, we call this in our office short tagging. So we go through this exercise during the process so that when we get to install, this is actually a wardrobe, so a tower, and this is a left tower. So we'll tag it that way. And this is a right tower or locker, whatever language you and your install team want to develop. You see how these tags then become simpler. Then when I close out of the calculation sheet and I go into here, you're going to see that my HAT tag has changed. Whoops, I didn't do that one. Your towers are now towers right, tower left, box file. See how those tags change? They're a little bit easier to manage. The other thing I would suggest is always move your tags so that they are legible. Okay, so going back into our tagging list, what else do we have to talk about? Tag 1. So tag 1 is used to create areas within your plan so you can easily get subtotals or create furniture tags like C1, T1, depending on your project and the need. So in the case of the drawing that I'm working in right now, I back out of the blocks and I go into my tools and my part tagging. Tag 1, we've gone through and I've created tags for grouped areas. So in this case, there are 16 private offices. I wanted them all in one area so that we can understand cost per private office, because I can divide that out later. All of your workstations are grouped together. All the touchdown stations over here are grouped together. We've got a large conference room up at the top, a medium conference room, a break room, an entry, a huddle, an open collaboration, and a work wall, a phone booth and wellness room. All of those, if we tag them in this manner, it allows us to control what the SIF organization looks like and then how the order placement is done. A lot of times, depending on the manufacturer, how that's manufactured, how it's loaded on the trucks, how it comes off the trucks, how our installers read it. So all of this information in these tagging, because they will show up also here under tag 1, tag 2, tag 3, and your individual tags. As soon as it loads up, it will show up here under tag 1. Tag 2s don't typically show up in your, we address that. We'll address that under the SIF demonstration. And then tag 3 ends up transferring from this individual tag for your workstations to your tag 3. So that's the area tagging for tag 1. Tag 2, I mentioned we'll get to in a minute. Tag 3 is used for panel tags. So in Hayworth world, where I come from, under Canvas, there is this panel type tags, tag 3. It says it right there. You can set it to whatever you want. We set it to tag 3 so that it goes into, once you export your SIF, it goes into tag 3. But it's interesting. Let me close that again. If you go into your block and you look at your panels, all your panels have this tag, 7050AN, right? That is the panel tag. That 7050AN will show up. Well, there's a C3, there it is. 7250AN will show up under individual tag. This, because if you set this panel type to 3, that will transfer in your SIF. So pro tip, allow that to transfer in your SIF because then you can help organize your SIFs better. Now that we have our specifications, including our finish selections and CET, and our project is properly tagged and organized, we can start to create our presentation for the customer. The success of your presentation will be judged not by the knowledge you send, but by what the listener receives or what the viewer receives. We always talk about how our presentations are a communication tool, and most people are visual. So if you think of this statistic, 80% of everything you learn through your eyes. So creating stunning lookbooks or product presentations is vital to validate the project scope and to share with your customers that you've heard them. It's a tool to build on the customer relationship and expand on the idea that you're the expert. So if you're like my team, you have a presentation template that you use to communicate the solutions you're providing. Let me go into here. So our project presentation template is something like this. We've got several different options that we can use with a title page, and it kind of highlights what information goes into the presentation, what the finishes are, where it's located on the furniture plan, any additional notes. There are a couple different things. Then there's usually a budget page that we try to include, sometimes a schedule page that we try to include. This is kind of our PowerPoint template that we use. One of the things that we like to do in CET is use blocks. So creating a block of a lounge setting or a 4-pack, in this case, an 8-pack of workstations within your drawing allows you to grab a quick render. So what I'm going to do is this 8-pack, I've got this kind of situated where I want it. I've got the angle just right so the customer can see everything within that 8-pack. I'm going to go up here to this quick render button, which is like my favorite button in the whole thing. I have it set to product lighting. There are lots of different ways you can do this, but I always use the product lighting ones because I think it comes out better. And I'm going to just click that quick render button, and it's going to do its thing and create a cute little simple rendering for me without having to go into the photo lab. This is one of the things that we have found that just makes building our presentations a little bit easier. Okay, so then we have a snip tool that we're going to use. I'm going to create a new snip, and I'm going to highlight this area, and I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to go back into my presentation template, and I'm going to paste it in there. Then all I have to do is scale it the way I want it, add the other information, the details of, this is a 6x6 back-to-back workstation with a height adjustable desk. I'll give the dimensions. We'll talk about warranty and lead time in our presentation. But again, that visual communication piece is what we need, because clarity is the key to our customers' understanding of what we're providing and what we're giving them. Now that we have our specifications in CET, our project is properly tagged and organized, and we've prepared a presentation, we can export our CET calculation sheet into Spec. But isn't there always a but first? There are 2 little details that need to be addressed. If you're working in Hayworth, don't forget to set your panel type tags under the project tools tag 3, which is what we talked about. So this is your tag 3, the drop down. And if you don't already have an article view, you need template, you need to create one. That article view makes sure that all your tags, tag 1, tag 2, tag 3, and all the information that you want to see in your SIF gets exported. So talking about SIF organization and the tagging, I mentioned tag 2 briefly. This is really part of the SIF organization. So we found that by organizing our SIF by component type helps in the install process by assigning a category to the product within your project. In your SIF, you have your tag 1, which will come from CET, and tag 3, which is the panel types that will come from CET, also from your calculation sheet. But what do we use this tag 2 for? So as shown here, tag 2, we organize by category. So anything having to do with electrical will receive a 0, a 1. Anything having to do with panels or skins will have a 0, 2. Supports brackets connectors, component storage surfaces, seating, and so on and so forth. So in this SIF, you can see this is a SIF that came directly from that project that I was sharing earlier. I've gone through and tagged everything under tag 2. So you can see that I've got my storage under 4. Under tag 2, I call it 04. This again helps to organize your order, which goes to the manufacturer, which which informs the manufacturing process and the order in which they manufacture things, the order in which they load them, then how they get off of our truck, and then how our installers group those things together on a job site when they're ready to get ready to install. So remember, we talked about we're doing everything with the installation in mind. That's pro tip number 1. So then we talk about sorting. I love this button right here. Let me go back to this presentation. That sort button allows you to sort by whichever column you want. We are constantly sorting by tag 1, then tag 2, then tag 3 in an ascending fashion. You can set this to sort by product number or by manufacturer, however you want to, but we found that sorting by these 3 tags that we've worked so hard to set up properly in CET helps with the overall success of the project, making sure we don't have as many errors, making sure everything is the way it should be. And then the last really little tip here in Project Spec is applying discounts and margins. And my favorite thing about that is this price tool and this general discounts button, because it allows you to add your discount and it does the dealer math for you. So you get those crazy discounts that say 50, 20, and 5, and you can never remember what that percentage is. If you drop that in here and then hit the tab button, it's going to tell you it's 62%. You can apply it to your whole SIF, or you can apply it to a certain range, or you can apply it to a different selection to whatever lines you want to apply it to. Also, your margins, if we're doing a 20% margin on something or a 5% margin, it can calculate, it can add both of those if you apply, or just one or the other, so that the discounts, that general discount percent button, is something that we use all the time. Last thing, piece of that puzzle, remember we talked about design and then presentation and then specification, then installation, right? So the last piece is the installation. And all of this, we've been talking about install all the way along, all the way through. So the install drawings and visibility settings are kind of the most important part of install drawings that we set up. So in our file here, under your papers sheet, right? Everyone's CET starts with nothing. There's typically not a title block or not anything. We can load different templates. So our company has templates that have our logo and everything on them with the information that we want to have on there. But then we're talking visibility settings. So in this project, I actually created the test fit for it with the building plans and showed walls in the CAD file that were to be demolished, and then new walls are shown as solid. So the visibility settings allow me to switch between those 2 alternatives. The view allows me to switch through those 2 alternatives that I created, the construction demo plan and the test fit, and make sure that all that stuff can be seen. If I was to duplicate this page, and let's say I want one page to show panels, you have custom views that you can set up. So if I want this just to show the panels and have this be a panel plan, and then during install, this is where I would say, here's your start point, these are the dimensions. We can do that. The next one might be if we set our visibility to electrical. It's going to show just the electrical that is needed for those things. And then we would typically show a components thing as well that talks about the model numbers and stuff for the components. So you can see those visibility settings are really helpful in creating your installation drawings. And that's it. So in kind of summarizing and talking and thinking through the future, I've seen the evolution of the dealer designer go from order taker, which was someone that was providing exactly what the customer or the design firm had asked for, making sure the model numbers were there and designing what was and specifying what was designed by others, right? To an order maker. And I'm talking about the tools and the knowledge that we now have to create and define and design and program and dream in our spaces. It's given us experience that many of our design peers in the A&D firms don't have. Our furniture manufacturers have done research on workplace trends and products and culture and productivity and work styles and products that have armed us with a depth of knowledge that really only exists within a dealer designer. With that knowledge about strategy and workplace ecosystems, coupled with the technology to design, present, specify, and install, dealer designers are the experts on workplace interiors. I'm seeing amazing envelopes filled with creativity and statement come from architecture and design firms. But the furniture dictates how that envelope is used. The furniture brings these spaces to life. And the dealer designer is the expert at putting the human experience within these spaces. As the workplace strategist at RCF Group, I am encouraging my whole team to be better listeners, to challenge our customers and design firms by asking leading questions and sharing knowledge and experience. We have these amazing tools that allow us to share a vision of productivity, wellness, collaboration, focus, culture, branding, and community. I see the dealer designer's future as the heart of any project, and I see us continuing to give experiences that are more than what was expected. Thanks in large part to CET, Project Spec, and the people of Configura.